After the success of last week's video, I thought it was only right that we carried on this series of videos. So this is your weekly £25 haul video. And a big shout out to GK310, whatever your real name is, what's your real name? Let us know. He got involved, or she got involved in the comments and said, I think you should do vodka or gin next time. So I've been to my supermarket and got some vodka this week. Now, if you're watching this video for the first time, thinking what's all this about? Well, this is my £25 haul video series. Basically, each week I take £25 to my local supermarket and then buy a bottle of spirit, a bottle of booze, and then buy some random ingredients and then come back and film some cocktails and give you inspiration. The whole point being, if you've got a party coming up or a gathering, you want to lay on some drinks, but you don't want to spend a fortune. £25, that's all you need. I have got you covered. Now, as I said in that first video that I did, I'm lucky enough to have most supermarkets around me. The only one that's a pain to get to is Lidl, but I want to know in the comments, what's your local supermarket? Where would you go to spend £25? And what is that one bottle of spirit that you would buy? Is it vodka, gin, rum, spiced rum, apple sours, tropical sours, Passoa? What would you buy? Let me know in the comments below, and then I might try and get that and then knock up some cocktails for you. Now, for this week's video, I went to my local Aldi and I spent, how much did I spend? I've forgotten, £24.93. I started off with some vodka. Now, caveat, if you are looking at this thinking, hang on a minute, he's had a practice run here. I've already shot this video once and it didn't record. So this is take two, but I promise you the cocktails are really good going forward. So I brought a vodka. This actually cost £11. I could have even got a cheaper vodka than that, but this is like a proper, it's really nice vodka actually. So I got some vodka. I've got 2 packs of mint. The other one's down here opened. I got some blueberries. I got some honey as my sweetener. I got some raspberry jam because that works perfectly. I got a net of lemons, so 4 lemons. I got 2 nets of limes, so 10 limes. I've got some apple juice. I've got some cranberry juice. I've got Aldi's version of Mediterranean Tonic water. I've got their Aldi's version of Lilt. And how you can definitely tell that I've had a practice run, I've got 2/3 or 3/4 of a watermelon. Now, the cocktails I'm going to show you in this video, these will all be perfect if you want to make them as individuals or as a jug or a punch bowl. And the big question I always get is like, what's the recipe for a jug? The simple answer is, I don't know, because it all depends on the size of your punch bowls and the size of your jugs. As a starting point, I'd say a ×4, times the recipe by 4. That would be a standard jug, but chances are you've probably got bigger jugs or bigger punch bowls, so you just have to kind of gauge it. But the one thing to note when you're doing that sort of stuff, if you're adding ice to the jug or the punch bowl, the ice is going to dilute and add more volume over time. So you've got that to kind of play around with as well. You don't want to make them not enough booze in there. If you're adding ice, the ice is just going to kind of dilute the drink down. So you kind of have to play, but a good starting point would be times the recipes by 4. So for the first cocktail, I'm going to show you how to make my watermelon cooler. This will go straight in a glass, but as I say, if you want to shake it, be my guest, especially if you don't want bits, because this will have watermelon in it. Now, the ingredients I'm going to use is a bit of watermelon. I've got some watermelon chopped down there. I'm going to use the juice of probably half a lemon. I'm going to use honey as a sweetener. I'm going to use cranberry juice. Obviously, I'm going to use my vodka. And then I'm going to use some of the Mediterranean, or what do they call it? Yeah, Mediterranean tonic water. So watermelon-wise, as I've already done it, that's how much I've chopped off, and I'm using about half of that. So about half of that sort of just chunked down, and I'll puree that up. Then I'm going to squeeze half a lemon in there. You know, if these lemons are not that juicy, but they're not actually, you might need a whole lemon, but just adjust it to taste. But half a lemon, just squeeze that all in. And then I'm just going to do a good drizzle of honey. Now, I reckon about 15 ml. Now, you could measure it, but it's going to make you measure your jiggers all sticky. So actually, because I need the spoon to churn it, a bar spoon is traditionally about 5 ml. So I've got one there. We'll let it drizzle while that's coming off, and then we'll do another one. So I've got about 15 ml of runny honey. Now, just to get all the honey off the spoon, I'm just going to kind of chunk that down a little bit. But then what I'm going to do, there we go, the honey's off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my muddler and I'm just going to muddle all that watermelon in to make a nice kind of watermelon juice puree. And then once you're happy with that, we're going to take our vodka. We're going to do a double bubble of vodka. Lovely jubbly. Then I'm going to do a double bubble of cranberry juice. Cranberry and watermelon just works really, really well together. I'm then just going to add some ice to a glass. And then the final ingredient is going to be the fake Mediterranean tonic water, which is really good. I've tasted it in the previous video that didn't record it. It's really, really good. About half a tin, 75ml, that should be perfect. And then just one final stir, just to combine all those ingredients. Make sure the honey's combined in. And then garnish-wise, here's one, funny enough, I prepared earlier. Got a slice of watermelon. And taste-wise, I know what it tastes like. It just tastes phenomenal. The honey really goes well with the watermelon and the cranberry. It's just a great summer drink. In a jug, individual serves, you are not going to be disappointed. Right now, for cocktail 2, I'm going to show you a blueberry mojito. Now, blueberry and vanilla mojito is absolutely phenomenal, but obviously I haven't got any vanilla here. So I'm going to substitute the vanilla for honey. Some really easy ingredients. Obviously, we're actually substituting the rum or the vodka for rum. So I'm going to use the vodka, some honey, I'm going to use 1 lemon, I'm going to use about 5 blueberries, and I'm actually going to use some mint. And the Aldi mint is not that great a quality, but it's all right, it'll do. It's quite cheap. If you've got mint in your garden, it's going to be better. And then instead of soda water, I'm going to be using the Fever Tree, the Aldi Mediterranean Tonic water. This is another one that could go straight in the glass. And these, as I showed previously, they are wonky blueberries. So these were really cheap. These were like about 50, 60p, something like that. I'm going to use 6 blueberries in there. I'm going to use a good drizzle of honey. Again, it'll be about 15ml, but it's a sweetener. Mojitos are just to taste. So about 15ml. Now I'm going to muddle this twice. So first off, I'm just going to kind of break the blueberries down just very, very quickly. And then I've got 1 lime and I've just wedged it up into 6 wedges. You can use half a lime if you want. If you don't like them that citrusy, fair enough. But mojitos are all about that balance. So I've got 1 lime. And now I'm just going to muddle this down, get all the juice out of the lime, and then watch the colour this goes in a second. Got an amazing colour going on in there. I've just picked some mint off. We never muddle mint, so I've got about 12 there. If you've got bigger mint leaves, about 8 to 10. But about 12 mint leaves there, tiny little mint leaves. Palm your hand, give them a spank. That'll awake the aroma, and then just pop them in your glass. I'm now going to do my vodka, and of course that's going to be a double bubble of the vodka. And of course this will work for rum as well. And then the final ingredient is just the rest of this can of that. Obviously I used 75ml in the last cocktail, so these are 150ml cans. So pretty much just half the can will be perfect. I'm then just going to add some ice to the glass. If you've got crushed ice, that'll be perfect. And then we're just going to take a long bar spoon and we're just going to combine all the ingredients, the honey, the mint and the lime, bring them up to the top. And the blueberries, obviously. I've just added another couple of cubes of ice and then just to garnish the sprig of mint. Now, this cocktail, when I made it the first time around, gorgeous, stunning. Honey and the blueberry really, really does work well together. As I say, honey, the vanilla and blueberry mojito is one of my all-time favourite combos. It's just gorgeous. This, just a lovely summer refreshing. It'll work with rum. I really love the addition of the Mediterranean tonic in there as opposed to soda water. It is just stunning. Now for cocktail 3, this is where the jam comes out to play. I'm going to show you how to make a raspberry martini with jam instead of fresh raspberries, because chances are we've all got sort of jams and conserves, preserves, whatever you want to call them, in the cupboards at home. So ingredients, really, really simple. I've just got a lemon ready to go down there. So I'm going to use the juice of half a lemon. We're going to use some raspberry jam. We're going to do some vodka and we're going to do some cranberry juice. It's that easy. Now jam-wise, you'll be really impressed with this. All jams are different, so I'm not adding any more sweetness to this. This is my sweetener, but all jams are different. They've got different amounts of sugar in them, so it's up to you. For this, I'm going to do a decent sized dollop. Look at that. And you'll see the little trick with this in a minute. To turn that into really, really loose puree, we use the citrus, and I've just got half a lemon here. So the juice, if I can get it, there we go. Half a lemon, just squeezed in. And then we just take a spoon and we're just gonna, and literally it'll take 10 to 15 seconds, and I'll show you on the close-up, hopefully if it works. Even now, that's just turned into a really loose kind of jam. So quick stir, and that right there, hopefully we'll get that on the close-up. That right there is just a luscious kind of raspberry puree. Hopefully you'll see that in the close-up. And then to that, all we're gonna add is our vodka. And again, flavoured vodkas, rum would even work with this. Maybe even gin. Of course, gin's gonna work. But double bubble of vodka. And then I'm actually gonna do 50 ml, another double bubble of cranberry juice. Cranberry and raspberry is just a match made in heaven. Then we're just gonna add plenty of ice to our cocktail shaker. And then it's daily exercise time, your workout, proper welly, hard fast shake, 10, 12 seconds. Now this is gonna get served up in a coupe. And if you're one of those people that really hates bits in your drinks, then double strain. Just to point out, this is like a posh Hawthorne strainer. This is like tightly cored spring. Sometimes with tightly cored springs, you don't need to double strain. Other times you do. If you've got like a cheaper Hawthorne strainer, like this, where the springs are like that, then you will, you know, they're not going to stop anything apart from big chunks of ice. So it's completely up to you. I did for the first one. I'm not going to bother for the second one. So I'm just single straining, but it's a very tight coil on this. Perfect. And then to garnish, I just used the tiny, I forgot to get it, there it is. I just used a tiny little sprig of mint because that's what I've got to hand. But obviously, you know, if you've got fresh raspberries, that'll work. I could drink that all day. It's just fun. It's actually quite nice and sweet, not overly sweet, but quite sweet. The jam really does come well. You don't need any other sugar in that with that. You don't lose the booze, the vodka, the cranberry and the raspberry. It's just a really good martini. Now for your fourth and final cocktail, I'm going to show you a tropical punch with these ingredients. So I'm going to use the vodka. I'm going back to the raspberry jam again because it's really tasty. I'm going to use half a lime. I'm going to use apple juice, and I'm going to use Aldi's fake lilt. Now this cocktail really is going to be perfect for a jug. It really is. So, you know, if you've got a big jug, just put the whole flipping jar of jam in with your citrus juice and just stir it to break it all down. But again, a good dollop of raspberry jam. I'm going to do the juice of half a lime. Just squeeze that in there. That'll be about 15 ml. Again, same trick as the last cocktail. Just going to stir that in, break it down, and we're going to get a nice kind of runny raspberry puree. Look at that, that's just after 5 or 6 seconds. Then I'm going for my vodka, which is going to break the jam down even more. We're going 50 ml double bubble. Again, do you know what? Coconut rum, normal rum, raspberry rums, any of the Dead Man's Fingers flavours, they're all going to work a treat in this cocktail. Then I'm going for the apple juice. I reckon 50 ml. I did it with 50 ml last time. 50 ml is going to be perfect. If you want to add more, add more. But 50 ml of apple juice. Obviously the fake lilt is fizzy, so we're not going to shake that. So plenty of ice in your cocktail shaker. And I was thinking, where's my shaker? Because it's normally there, but it's under here because I've washed it. A hard fast shake, 10 to 12 seconds. And then we're just going to finish it off with the fake lilt tropical blast. It's lovely. I actually did 100 ml the first time around. I'm going to bring it down to 75 ml. That was perfect. So 50 double bubble and 25, so 75 ml of that. And as I said before, if you're one that really doesn't like bits in your drinks because of the raspberry, because that is decent jam, it's got all the pips and that in there as well. Just strain it if you want, but I'm just going to do a shake and dump with this. Then as it's kind of a tiki cocktail, garnish it with whatever you want. I've got some mint left over there. I've got a little bit of watermelon there. We've got, it's completely obliterated for the first squeeze. We've got like the husk, or the, what do you call it, the empty lime if you want. You know, that'll all work. And I absolutely loved that the first time round. Second time round, I love it even more. It is so good. You don't lose the lilts, the kind of pineapple and grapefruit. The juicy raspberry comes through. It's nice and boozy. Honestly, this is definitely one for a jug and just top yourselves up all afternoon. That is definitely what that cocktail is all about. So there we go. There's 4 absolute bangers there for 25 quid. As I say, this, you know, a bottle there is going to be 14 double bubbles, 14 cocktails essentially out of that. But you know, if you've got other booze laying around at home, you can sort of top it up with that. But big jugs, honestly, really good. In the comments below, I want to know A, which one's your favourite, which one tempts you the most. B, what other suggestions have you got with that? Because you could either do like vodka and tonics and stuff like that as well. So what other suggestions have you got for those combination of cocktails? And if you want a different £25 haul video, check out that one right there.